Hello, my name is Joshua Dunlop. I'm a CFP and co-founder of Newmaker Financial. And today I want to talk with you a little bit about more fake call scams. Now, I have to level with you. Originally, I was going to do all of these scams under one umbrella, but I feel like they're just a little bit too audacious and a bit too crazy to put all into one video. So for the next couple financial scams videos, know that we are going to be looking at some scams that share a lot of similarities and share a lot of the same tools to avoid them. But at the end of the day, these scams are different enough that I think that you should be aware of all of them. A fake call scam is going to be when a scammer calls you pretending to be a legitimate organization or potentially even somebody that you know. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you're anything like me, you're thinking, man, somebody could never call me and pretend to be somebody else. I'm a regular Sherlock Holmes. I can figure this out. But that's why I want to give you some examples, because at the end of the day, these calls are so wild and they work. And so we have to be looking at why they work and how they work. Our first scam comes from the Center for the Digital Future writer Brad Behrens, in which he discusses his father almost falling victim to a scam call that he received in the middle of the night pretending to be from ADT. Now, the way that this worked and the way that this scam generally works is that they're going to give you a call. It's going to be in the early hours of the morning. I'm talking 1, maybe 2, 3 in the morning. And what happened in this particular scam is that the scammer claimed to be from ADT, and they claimed to be calling as a result of a medical emergency that was being filed by the people who owned the ADT system. So if you have ADT, you are going to have a control panel, and on that control panel, there's a button you can push for a medical emergency. And ADT was calling this gentleman to let him know that they had received that kind of a call from him. Now, he said, hey, I don't have any medical emergency. And they said, well, can you confirm your address for us? Which he did. And they said, oh, this is a technical issue on our end. It turns out that somebody else hit the medical button, and it's just registering that your house hit the medical button. So we're going to go ahead and turn off that alarm. We're going to call it a night. But you know what? Turns out that your system is set up in such a way that I need your disable code in order to deactivate the alarm. And so this gentleman gave this person over the phone at 3 in the morning his deactivation code, and she said, okay, well, we got the alarm turned off. Thank you so much for your service, and hung up. It wasn't until the next day that this gentleman was talking to his son that it raised some red flags for his son. He called ADT, and sure enough, there was no registered call. He had to change his deactivation code because now scammers had it. So if you're anything like me, this feels like something that can work on you. 3 in the morning, my brain isn't working the best possible way that it can, and I could totally see myself being groggy and saying, yeah, ADT, I do have a system with you guys. I could see that happening. But that's not all when it comes to these late night scams. They actually get a bit more crazy than that. So buckle up, because the next scam that I'm going to tell you about is pretty common, and it's the I'm in jail scam. You'll get a call at very early in the morning, 1, 2, 3, and the person on the other end will claim to be a son, a daughter, a nephew, a grandson. They'll claim to be somebody that you know personally and say, I'm in jail right now, and I need to pay bail right now so I don't get put in jail for the night. I'm really scared. They're wanting you to pay the bail via Venmo. Can you please help them? Now, here's what's crazy about this scam. If for any reason the scammer knows you or your family, or has kind of figured out who you are through Facebook, and figured out the number of your loved one, they can actually call you and mask their number to look like the number of a loved one. Some versions of this scam even have AI equipment that they use to mask their own voice and make it appear to be more the voice of the person that you love. Now, the official name of this scam is the Family Emergency Scam, and it's so common that it has its own dedicated page on the ftc.gov website. This can happen via phone call, but it can also happen as a result of a text message as seen here. So you got somebody calling you at 1, 2 in the morning. They may be calling from a loved one's number. They may even have your loved one's voice, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm in jail. Please help." Now, these scammers are primarily going to go after senior citizens. A lot of times, a grandson or a granddaughter is going to be the one that's in jail at this point. And you would be surprised at how often this scam works, because at 1, 2 in the morning, you get a frantic call from somebody that you love. Your first inclination is to help them. It's not going to be to start questioning them, to put on your detective cap and start, rattling down a list of questions to them. And the scammers know that. That's why they're targeting you. They've used your social media potentially to source some very key information about you. The people who fall for these scams are not people who are dumb. They're not people who don't operate well in our society. They're regular people like you and me. Now, the other key of this is that a lot of times in this scam, the granddaughter or the grandson are going to tell you, "Please keep this a secret. I don't want mom and dad to know." So it's entirely possible that you know somebody who's fallen victim to this scam. It's really terrible, and it's really terrifying that this is happening on such a grand scale. So how do you protect yourself? Well, the first thing I'm going to recommend is, remember when you were a little kid and there was all that stranger danger going around, so you and your parents came up with a code word that if it was actually somebody coming to the playground saying that that your mom or dad had sent them and to please come with them, there was a code that you could give that would make sure that scammers and kidnappers didn't come and get you. Well, it's time to dust off that old password and potentially bring it back and talk with your family about what this scam is, what it does, and how it is that you're going to know the person you're speaking with on the other end of that line is who they say they are. We said this in the last video, and the FTC strongly recommends this for these types of calls. The number one strength of a scammer in this type of situation is speed and panic. So the number one thing that you can do is slow it down. Try to verify things. Now, seriously, if your grandchild or somebody that you knew and loved was sitting in jail, they might be panicked, they might be freaked out. But even if they're really there, even if they're really dealing with this, and even if they do need money, there's not going to be any problem with you slowing it down and verifying bits of what they're saying. Now, of course, this all works well and good for if somebody's calling claiming to be from jail. But what about the first example, where somebody's calling claiming to be from a company you do business with? The number one thing you can do on that front is do not give out personal information to somebody that is calling you. So create a code, slow it down, try to call the organization or the person who is calling you to ensure that they are in fact the person or the company that they say they are. So let's stay safe out there, and please feel free to pass this video along to anybody else, because just like G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle. Again, this is Joshua Dunlop from Newmaker Financial, and I want to thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.